Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the channel. We have some breaking news regarding UFC 272. We now have a new main event after some weird changes to the card. The main event that's being reported by ESPN is Colby Covington versus Jorge Masvidal. That's a non-title main event. That's a pretty big fight, and I'm very excited for it. A lot of people speculated that this fight may never happen. A lot of people have been clamoring for this fight for what seems like years. But the welterweight division as a whole seems like nobody in the top 5, top 10 really wants to fight each other over the last few years, other than Usman, who's been super active within the division. Now, in case you haven't been paying attention to all the different news we've gotten in the last week, originally UFC 272, March 5th, was supposed to be the main event, was supposed to be Alexander Volkanovski versus Max Holloway 3, the official trilogy after Max Holloway won against Yair Rodriguez back in November and Alexander Volkanovski beat Brian Ortega back in September. They were finally going to have the trilogy. All the controversy from the second fight and the first fight being razor thin, especially that second fight, we were finally going to get the trilogy. And the co-main event of that card was supposed to be Aljamain Sterling versus Petr Yan, unifying the bantamweight title. Petr Yan obviously got DQ'd last year, then gets the interim title against Corey Sandhagen at UFC 267. Aljamain Sterling having neck surgery, haven't fought since he won the disqualification fight against Petr Yan. But now everything has changed around. So apparently Max Holloway is injured, and apparently Petr Yan, for whatever reason, it's not officially being reported yet, Petr Yan can't fight on the March 5th card. He needs till April. That's what it's being reported as right now. So supposedly both of those fights are being moved to UFC 273, which will be in April in NYC. And they're still looking at a potential opponent for Alexander Volkanovski. It's being reported it's probably going to be Korean Zombie, but I think there's a chance if Giga Chikadze wins impressively this Saturday that we will see Giga Chikadze potentially get that title shot. He's been vocal about wanting it. But anyway, back to this welterweight fight. I absolutely love this matchup stylistic-wise, and it has a great storyline. These guys were former best friends, supposedly no longer like each other, hate each other, whatever. They've been going back and forth forever. Some people, myself included, have speculated about whether or not this is kind of a fake rivalry. And I even talked about it. We were discussing a potential new main event for UFC 272 last night on a live stream. And I even speculated the reason I thought this fight hadn't come to fruition for so long is I truly thought these guys were potentially still good friends, and they wanted it to be for a title. They know both of them were going to get title shots. Both of them got 2 title shots, and they were hoping one of them would beat Kamaru Usman, and then this fight would be much bigger considering it would be for the welterweight title. Well, Colby Covington at UFC 268 loses to Kamaru Usman again. Before that, back at UFC 245 in December of 2019, he has a loss to Kamaru Usman. So 2 losses to Kamaru Usman. He has a win over Tyron Woodley in between there, but 2 losses against Kamaru Usman. He's not going to get another title shot anytime soon. Then you have Jorge Masvidal. His last 2 fights are against Kamaru Usman at UFC 261, April of 2021. Brutally KO'd by that right hand. And then before that, the short notice UFC 251 fight where Gilbert Burns had to pull out. Jorge Masvidal steps in, and Kamaru Usman 50-45s him, just controls him the entire fight and just beats him every single round. So both guys have had 2 shots at Kamaru Usman. Both guys have come up short. So now you look at the welterweight division, and I believe this is the biggest fight for both of them, barring maybe a Nate Diaz fight for Jorge Masvidal, but really I don't think people want to see that rematch too much. Gilbert Burns is probably going to fight Khamzat Chimaev. Leon Edwards is probably getting a title shot. Vicente Luque, that's not a big fight for either one, even though I would like that matchup for either guy as well as a fan, as a hardcore fan. Bilal Muhammad, nobody's really going to get behind that matchup for either guy. And then you start to get to Stephen Wonderboy Thompson or Neil Magny. Nobody cares about those fights as far as matching them up with Jorge Masvidal or Colby Covington. This is the fight to make. And stylistically, forget about all the backstory about the friendship and now they're no longer friends and Colby moved gyms or whatever. Forget about that. Stylistically, this is an excellent matchup. And I know a lot of people are kind of talking about this fight and they think Jorge Masvidal stands absolutely no chance within this fight. Jorge Masvidal, for the entirety of his career, his weakness has been his takedown defense and being able to be controlled against the fence and be controlled on the ground. We've seen it happen against Damian Maia. We've seen it happen against Kamaru Usman in the first fight. But I truly believe this fight will be a lot closer than people speculated to be or anticipated to be, because Jorge Masvidal Well, I know since the Ben Askren KO and the Darren Till KO, mainly the flying knee Ben Askren KO, Jorge Masvidal has got elevated to a skill level that I think he's a bit overrated by most people. He was criminally underrated for a while, and I think now you have two groups. You have people who overrate Jorge Masvidal's skill set, and you have people who underrate Jorge Masvidal's skill set, and they say, it's all hype, he has no skills. Jorge Masvidal has very good striking, and he was doing very well in that rematch against Kamaru Usman up until he got caught with that right hand. And I've talked about Kamaru Usman and Colby Covington striking for the entirety of my channel anytime I've been asked about it. Anyone that can keep the fight standing against Kamaru Usman or Colby Covington have a chance to win the fight. Both of them are improving, but neither one of them has very good striking. It's very sloppy. It's very susceptible to counters. It's very susceptible to getting caught with power punches. But the reason they're able to get away with it is because of the threat of the takedown sets up their strikes. Now, Colby Covington has great cardio. He has great volume, but Jorge Masvidal is a far superior striker, and he has way more power. Colby Covington, I don't think he's ever knocked anyone out. Maybe he's TKO'd someone. I think he TKO'd Tyron Woodley, but that was weird, like injury. And honestly, I don't even remember the last time he TKO'd or KO'd someone outside of that injury to Tyron Woodley. And again, also, we talked about this recently. Colby Covington, as good as he looked against Kamaru Usman in both fights, they're his best performances, and we have to be very careful about elevating guys off of losses. You look at Colby Covington's resume, absolutely terrible. I don't think he has a win over anybody in the current welterweight top 10. He has 2 losses to Kamaru Usman, which were great performances, but again, they were losses. We can't elevate him off of losses. He has a win over Tyron Woodley. Tyron Woodley had already been dominated and destroyed by Usman and Burns before that fight even happened. And that win over Woodley, even before what happened to Woodley since then, wasn't all that impressive. He got the TKO in the 5th round, but it was a weird stoppage because of a rib injury for Woodley. I'm not trying to take away anything from Colby, but I'm just saying, let's kind of give some context to this win. Before that, a win over Robbie Lawler was his most recent win before the Woodley win. And, I think that's a quality win. But at the same time, Robbie Lawler was far past his prime. But I still think that was a decent win. I honestly believe the best win on Colby Covington's resume, and we talked about this yesterday, is Rafael Dos Anjos, and I don't know that Rafael Dos Anjos really belonged in the welterweight division. So I know Colby went out there, he dominated Rafael Dos Anjos, who's a very well-rounded fighter, but I just believe he's undersized for the welterweight division. So I really believe some people are overrating Colby Covington's skill set as well as Jorge Masvidal's skill set. You look at Jorge Masvidal, I know you can do the same thing with his resume, kind of pick it apart, but he's just been around forever. He's fought some of the best guys. You have 2 losses to Kamaru Usman. Didn't perform very well in either one of them. You have a win over Nate Diaz. I don't know how much that means. I think he's much bigger than Nate Diaz. A win over Ben Askren. Now, for a lot of people, this was a quality win, but for me personally, I expected him to bludgeon Ben Askren, and I wish I had a YouTube channel when that fight was happening because my prediction would have been brutal KO. Has a good win over Darren Till. I think that's a solid win, even though Darren Till has kind of regressed since then. Went up to middleweights, lost a lot of fights. But Masvidal was coming in off a long layoff, and he slept Darren Till. He has a loss to Wonderboy Thompson before that, where he really got dominated, but it wasn't like a crazy domination. I think it was like a 30-27 fight. And then before that, he lost a split decision to Damian Maia, where he was kind of controlled on the ground. And had he won that fight against Damian Maia, I would have believed he got the next title shot. So really, you can kind of pick apart both these guys' resumes. I believe that Jorge Masvidal probably has the little bit better resume, just considering he's been around for so long. But you can even look back, losses to Benson Henderson at lightweight, losses to Lorenz Larkin, and his wins over Jake Ellenberger and Donald Cerrone. The Donald Cerrone win I think is solid. That was all the way back in 2017. But I really believe both of these guys, as far as their skill sets, are a little bit overrated. But if I had to give my early prediction, and, it's really hard because I think a lot of people, when you initially just think about this fight and this matchup, a lot of people think Colby Covington's going to go out there, put the pressure on him, put the volume on him, take him down, beat him up on the ground, and win the fight, control him on the ground. But I don't know if that's the case. I don't know if that's the case. I think Jorge Masvidal has very tricky, deceptive boxing, and he's just been around for so long, and I think his striking is so far superior to Colby Covington. It's just a wonder, is Jorge Masvidal going to let the threat of the takedown kind of freeze up his striking, similar to what happened in Kamaru Usman? Now, I do not think Colby finishes Jorge Masvidal. It's very rare that Jorge Masvidal ever gets finished. You know, when the finish against Kamaru Usman at UFC 261 was the first time that he's been finished in forever. So I don't think Colby Covington finishes him. I think if Colby wins, he wins by decision. I think if Jorge Masvidal wins, he wins by KO or TKO. And my early prediction, I may change my mind on this. I'm going to go Colby Covington by decision with everything I just went through being said. But I would not be surprised to see Jorge Masvidal get a finish in this fight. I think Colby Covington's striking is so sloppy. He kind of moves forward, leaves his chin out there. He was rocked badly by Kamaru Usman in the second fight. And I think Jorge Masvidal has the ability to get it done. But honestly, just Colby Covington's the younger fighter. He's 33. Jorge Masvidal's 37. Jorge Masvidal's been fighting for much longer, it seems like, than Colby. Has much more wear and tear on his body. He's coming in off a knockout loss to Kamaru Usman, which kind of does something to you, you know, especially when he's a guy that hasn't been KO'd very much throughout his entire career. So I think he's going to come in, and I think he's going to be a little bit nervous about that takedown. And I think Colby Covington's going to be able to, you know, land some volume, some pressure on the feet, eventually secure some takedowns, control him on the ground, and just eke out a decision win over Jorge Masvidal. But overall, I'm super excited for this fight. It seems like we were never going to see it. I still have hope that we'll see Jorge Masvidal versus Leon Edwards one day, but who knows if that'll happen. Let me know in the comments, who do you guys think is going to win this fight? Don't forget to like the video, and thank you so much for watching.